Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to pretend for just 1 second that you are a lawmaker on Capitol Hill and you have a soul. And because you have a soul, you are trying to vote in the future of a program that is meant to assist individuals who are the most needy in the United States because they are medically vulnerable, they have disabilities, or they're elderly, blind, whatever. And you want to keep them from going homeless. You know, I can imagine why you might want to keep that population from going homeless, and it's because they are medically needy, vulnerable, aged, elderly population who's vulnerable. Just want to be clear on what the population that you're designing these laws for. Just being very clear. And you want to continue a program. You want to modify a program so it helps these people from going homeless and end up on the streets without medical care or housing or a roof over their head because they're needy, vulnerable. Just saying. Just saying. How would you do that, right? I think I know what you wouldn't do. And it would be including a provision that life insurance that you collect, you know, because poor Americans have looked around at family members generally. I've had this in my family. I've experienced this myself, that poor family members look around to people that are dying and realize, oh, you know, family members are having to cough up money for them. Maybe I should insure myself. That is absolutely a normal thing to do. So they go and they buy life insurance, unbeknownst to them. Now, if they're on SSI, this is way more important. If they're not, then whatever. But unbeknownst to many, that life insurance policy, just like you think when you go purchase car insurance, you don't think it has a cash value. Now, car insurance doesn't, but life insurance policies can have a cash value. You can sell them. And guess what? They have an asset value. Why is that important? Because the Social Security Administration's SSI program considers that cash value as part of your $2,000 cap and limitation for the program. Thus, if you cross that $2,000 cap, what happens? You lose your SSI benefits, and if they continue to pay it and didn't catch it, you go into overpayment. Okay? It's fascinating because such a simple mistake for a vulnerable, medically needy population can cost them access to their health care in Medicaid restrictive states, because if they lose SSI, they lose access to Medicaid. Their ability to pay rent, so thus they lose their housing. It's fascinating, really, the antiquated systems that are allowed to persist because of Congress's, I hope, just negligence. I hope it's just negligence. Because negligence implies a little bit that you don't know what the you're doing. If it's not negligence, then it's some sort of, I'm not getting into conspiracies here, but it's premeditated murder. Okay. Here's the story that I'm working off of here. Now, this was published in 2024. This is by Joseph Shapiro of NPR. And it's about individuals who, looking around them, saw family members struggle to pay for other family members who have passed and to pay for their funeral costs, burial costs, etc. And they go, maybe I should prep for that. And they buy life insurance without knowledge that the life insurance carries an asset value on the SSI program. Now, first and foremost, I would like to start by saying there's some critics out there would say, oh, if you're on this program, you are behest or you are responsible for knowing why or the rules and restrictions of the program that you're on. And while that may be true, I want to remind you that SSI serves a population that includes a percentage of individuals who have cognitive disabilities or cognitive delay. Perhaps they don't have a lower IQ or anything, or they're not intellectually impaired, but there's some cognitive difficulty. This is a significant portion of the population, and believe it or not, individuals with cognitive disabilities of some sort do not always require some sort of caregiver assistance to look through these policies and all that. And even if they did have a caregiver, how are they supposed to know? Second, even if the individual is disabled and has a damn PhD, it doesn't mean squat, because it's so arbitrary and just it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Just think about it. I mean, you buy a life insurance policy because you expect the value to come to you when you die. When you die, not to sell it when you're alive, and to have that active value be counted as an asset when you haven't sold it against you while you're alive. And people don't think about this. They don't think in 3D chess. When you go buy any other form of insurance, do you think that it has some value? Well, some people don't think that. They don't go, I'm buying life insurance, it has a value that can be sold. No, they don't think that. Remind you, this is a population that's vulnerable. These are antiquated, strange, old rules that are embedded in the SSI program that at this point, is pure negligence by Congress because they haven't fixed it. Williams, 63, thought her life insurance wouldn't be used after she died. She didn't understand it had a cash value and she could turn it in and collect $1,900. That was far less than the $10,000 in funeral expenses she bought the policy to cover when she died. I'm quoting it. For Williams, the cash value of your policy along with $260. Apologies, got cut there for a second. But let's continue here. The 2000 asset limit hasn't changed since 1989. If I had kept it under 50 years of inflation, it would be $10,000 today, of course. We scroll down just a little bit, and I want to focus on this part right here. This is a vulnerable, needy population. Remind you, the penalty was stiff. Williams was kicked off SSI. Her primary source of income. Let me read this here, sorry. She was kicked off SSI, primary source of income, told by Social Security to pay 2 years back of benefits totaling $20,000, over $23,000. And she had 30 days to pay it back. Isn't that ridiculous? I'm reading further into this and finding it even more ridiculous because time went on and she was told to come to an office. She got a letter in the mail. A letter in the mail in 2019 telling her to come to the office because she was over $2,000 in the asset limit. And that she had been for a long time. Someone noticed she'd accumulated the $260 in her checking account and had spotted her life insurance policy with $1,900 cash value. Oh, bear in mind, this institution, the Social Security Administration, monitors your checking and your kind of financial activity for jobs and assets and stuff like that. And they're sometimes late in catching these things. So these errors accumulate significant penalties. $2,000. $1,900 she didn't have access to. $1,900 she did not have access to. $1,900 she did not have access to. It's money she expected for her family when she died. And that got her kicked off the program and forced to pay back $20-something thousand. And why did they know about the asset? Because she told them about the asset. She didn't try to hide the life insurance policy. So being a good person to this program, telling them things, keeping them up to date on what you're doing, actually, good luck. Good luck. You'll get railed. Now, the real way to make it on SSI is to hide your assets. Don't put it in a bank. Hide your assets. Don't put anything in your name. Skip titles. Do all these things. because it punishes those who are honest. And because SSI is understaffed anyway, it can't go after anyone who's dishonest. It doesn't know about them. And so it scares everyone when it actually makes a punitive effort on someone. But most likely it's because they told them something. They were being an honest person. And she uses her SSI benefits to pay the premium. It's so amazing. She's disabled, didn't work, impoverished, she couldn't pay it back. It's astounding, truly astounding. Makes me sick that Congress is continuing to let these kind of errors go by in the SSI program, because this is negligence at this point. I've said it multiple times. This is I hope just negligence, because ultimately if you were being tried for something like this, when you're causing this kind of destruction to people, because it's state sanctioned violence ultimately, it's okay because it's state sanctioned. It's state sanctioned negligence. It's must be forgivable. It must not be true violence. That this is just let by. This is happening to people, and it's just let by. And if you were at trial, I would really, really want to know if there was any motivating factor behind this, because truly horrific. Because again, like I've said this before, or we've seen this before. There are bills that they get introduced, and then they fly away because they don't make it. They don't survive. But ultimately, what we found that last year, they get a little more attention when banks start advocating for them. How sad. How sad. That's all I got for this. Just wanted to share one of those horrific stories from the SSI program. Until next time. Thanks. Goodbye.